Hello all, welcome to another video from Btech. So today we will discuss some problems on RMS and average values. That is, you will be given with one circuit and you need to get the root mean square value and the average value out of it. I have already uploaded one video saying the theory behind this RMS and average value. So I strongly suggest you to watch that video before you see this. So these four circuits which you can see here are taken from different KTU question papers of the subject BE101-03. So let's start the video. So the first question, the output voltage appearing across an electronic power converter is shown in figure. Find RMS and average value of V of t equal to Vm is equal to 100 volt and alpha equal to 60 degree. 60 degree means it is pi by 3. Okay. If it is 30 degree, then it is pi by 6. Anyway, the very first thing you have to form is the equation for V of t. Okay, for that you have to identify the time period, or you have to identify the cycle of the given graph. You can see that the graph is having a time period from the origin till pi, isn't it? And after that this same graph is found to be repeating, isn't it? So your time period extends from the origin to pi. So you have to get the equation from 0 to pi. But again, inside the 0 to pi interval, you can see that from 0 to alpha, the graph is there is no graph, isn't it? And from alpha to pi, it is a sine wave representation. So you have to split that time period, okay? So first thing is you have to identify the cycle and get the time period, and in that time interval, you have to identify the pieces of your graph. Okay, so here from 0 to alpha, that is when omega t ranges from 0 to alpha, there is no graph. Okay, it is simply 0. And from alpha to pi, when omega t, your x-axis ranges from alpha to pi, the graph is a simple sine wave representation. So what is a sine wave? It is usually Vm sine omega t. Okay, this is the usual representation of a sine wave with maximum value Vm. Okay, so here the maximum value is 100. So it is 100 sine omega t. So this is your graph ranging from alpha to pi, and also alpha value is pi by 3. So let's substitute alpha also there, pi by 3. Okay. So this becomes your graph equation. Okay. Now let's move on to write this RMS value. So the root mean square value means you have to square the function first, take the mean, and then take the square root of it. Okay. So first thing is to square the function. So let's write RMS is equal to, let's square the function first, V of t the whole square. Next is you have to take the mean. So taking average or taking mean means integrating over the time interval divided by the time interval. And next is take the square root. Okay. So it becomes root of, what is your time period? Time period is 0 to pi, which means pi is your time period. And integral 0 to t, as you can see in the function is defined in two intervals. I mean 0 to pi by 3 and pi by 3 to pi. So 0 to pi by 3 there is no function, so no need to write it. But you have to write, or you have to start writing from pi by 3 to pi. So integral pi by 3 to pi. Now what is V of t over there? It is 100 sine omega t, but you have to write the square of it. So 100 square sine square omega t d omega t. So integration is done with respect to omega t axis. Okay. And the next step is taking the constant outside the integration. So 100 square is taken outside, and in the denominator you have pi, so 100 square and pi are written outside together, and inside this sin square omega t has been rewritten as 1 minus cos 2 omega t by 2. So that is one trigonometric function or trigonometric equation. Sin square theta is equal to 1 minus cos 2 theta divided by 2, which has to be by-hatted at the time of integration. So sin square theta, every sin square theta which comes under integration must be replaced with 1 minus cos 2 theta by 2. Okay, then only you can proceed with the integration. And again, next step, 100 square by pi is taken outside the square root. So it becomes 100 by root pi. And this integration stays inside the root itself. So integral half is omega t by 2, and integral cos is sin to omega t by 2, but along with this 2 it becomes sin to omega t by 4. Now take the limits. So it is upper limit minus lower limit. So pi by 2 minus sin 2 pi divided by 4 minus lower limit is pi by 3. So pi by 3 by 2 minus sin 2 pi by 3 divided by 4. Okay. So sin any pi, sin n pi is equal to 0. So we have pi by 2 minus 0 minus pi by 3 by 2 is pi by 6, and minus into minus is plus. Now sin 2 pi by 3, it is sin 120 degree actually, which means pi by 3 is 60 degree, 60 into 2, 120. So sin 120 you can check in the calculator, and it is root 3 by 2. Okay. So root 3 by 2 into 1 by 4, it becomes root 3 by 8. And substituting pi value as 3.14, you can solve it in the calculator to get your RMS value as 63.42. Okay, this Vm means it is 100 actually, 100. Okay, so your RMS value is 63.42. Okay, next let's find out the expression for average value. Now average means it is actually the mean value. Mean means you just need to integrate in the time interval divided by the time interval. Okay, what to integrate? You have to integrate the function in the time interval divided by t. So here integral 0 to what's our time period? Time period was 0 to pi, isn't it? So it is integral 0 to pi, and you can see that v of t, okay, anyway, v of t dt divided by pi. But let me write one more step, because we know that there is no value for the v of t from 0 to pi by 3. So let's write the limits from pi by 3 to pi. Okay, so it becomes pi by 3 to pi 100 sin omega t dt divided by pi. Why? Because there is nothing to integrate between 0 to pi by 3. Okay, so we rewrite the limits to pi by 3 to pi. Okay, now the constant 100 is taken outside, which means our Vm, that is here 100 is taken outside, and pi is written along 100 by pi, and integral pi by 3 to pi sin omega t d omega t, because omega t is the axis, and integrating sin omega t, it is minus cos omega t in the limits pi by 3 to pi. So minus is taken outside again, negative 100 by pi, cos pi minus lower limit is cos pi by 3. So cos pi is negative 1. See, cos n pi is negative 1 raised to n. Okay, so cos 1 pi is negative 1 raised to 1, which is negative 1. Okay, so cos pi is negative 1 minus cos 60 degree. Cos 60 is half. Okay, so substituting pi is equal to 3.14, you will get the average value as 47.7 volt. So that's your first question from RMS and average value. Next question. A full wave rectified sine function is clipped at 0.707 of its maximum value. As shown in figure, find the average and RMS value. So clipping means just cutting off the other side. Okay, clipping, it is clipped at 0.707 means at the value of 0.707. See, this is 1 by root 2 means it is 0.707 em. So the function or the graph is clipped at this point. So your final graph will be like this. Okay. Full wave rectified means the sine wave is just like this, taking the negative portion to upside, and it is then clipped at 0.707. So the peak of the sine wave, so the peak of the rectified sine wave will be cut off. Okay, so the graph is now of this way, of this format. Now, first thing is you have to identify the time period or the cycle, isn't it? So it ranges, this is your time period and it ranges from 0 to pi. Okay, so we have to write the function value from 0 to pi, and again you can see that from this point to this point the sine wave has been clipped off at the point 0.707 em, isn't it? 0.707 em. So it is from pi by 4 to 3 pi by 4, the function is em by root 2 or 0.707 em. And in the other portion, that is 0 to pi by 4, in this gap and this gap, in 0 to pi by 4 and 3 pi by 4 to pi, you have the same function em sin omega t, but in between pi by 4 to 3 pi by 4, the function value is 0.707 em. Okay, so this is your equation for the graph in 3 intervals. Okay, so finding RMS means first you need to square it. Okay, so we have to square individual functions, that is em square sin square omega t, em by root 2 the whole square, and em square sin square omega t in 3 different, the corresponding time intervals or corresponding limits, that is 0 to pi by 4 em square sin square omega t d omega t, and next pi by 4 to 3 pi by 4 it is em by root 2 the whole square, and later 3 pi by 4 to pi it is em square sin square omega t. Fine. So we have squared it and we have to take the mean. Taking mean means integrating divided by the time period. So we integrate it divided by the time period pi, and complete answer must be taken under root. Okay. So again you can see that em square is common in every interval. So em square is taken outside, pi is written to the left side. So inside each integration you will be left with sin square omega t in both the ends, and here 1 by root 2 the whole square. 1 by root 2 whole square means 1 by 2. Okay. Now sin square omega t is rewritten as 1 minus cos 2 omega t by 2 here also. Now next let's integrate it. Before that let us take em square by pi outside the square root. So it becomes em by root pi, and you can see that 2 is in the denominator for each fraction. So 2 can be taken outside the integration, and when it's taken outside the square root it becomes root 2. So it is written along with pi. Okay, root of 2 pi. Okay, pi when taken outside it becomes root pi. 2 when combining all together and taken outside the square root it becomes root 2. So it becomes root of 2 pi in the denominator as a whole, and integration stays inside the square root. Okay. Now integrating 1 d omega dt. So it is omega t, and integrating cos 2 omega t it is sin 2 omega t divided by the coefficient of omega t is 2. Next integral 1 d omega t is again omega t. Here also same omega t minus sin 2 omega t by 2. Applying the limits, pi by 4 minus sin 2 pi by 4 means sin pi by 2 divided by 2. So the upper limit is ready, and lower limit is 0 minus sin 0 is 0. So I didn't write the lower limit. And next is substitution for the middle term, that is 3 pi by 4 minus pi by 4. 3 pi by 4 minus pi by 4. Here pi minus sin 2 pi, sin any pi is 0. So the upper limit pi minus sin 2 pi by 2, minus lower limit is 3 pi by 4 minus sin 2 into 3 pi by 4 is 3 pi by 2. So sin 3 pi by 2. Okay, 3 pi by 4 minus sin 3 pi by 2 divided by 2. Okay, and you can see that pi by 4 gets cancelled up, and 3 pi by 4 minus 3 pi by 4 it's also get cancelled off, and you will be left with sin 90 by 2 is, sin 90 is 1. So negative 1 by 2 plus pi is written here, sin any pi is 0. So I wrote 0 here. Next is minus sin, what is sin 3 pi by 2? It is negative 1. Okay, so this negative is here, this negative is here, and sine 3 pi by 2 value is negative 1 divided by 2. Okay, so you will end up with here net sign is negative, so negative half minus half plus 3.14. You will have your value of RMS, that is 0.583 EM. Fine. And next your average value, that is you have to just integrate it, the function in 3 intervals. Okay, 0 to pi by 4, because remember our formula was between 0 to pi by 4 to 3 pi by 4 and 3 pi by 4 to pi. So we will have 3 integration, 0 to pi by 4 to 3 pi by 4 and 3 pi by 4 to pi, and inside each integration you will have the corresponding equation divided by the complete time period pi. Okay, solving it out you will get 0.54 EM. Same step. Okay, next question. This is a different type of question because here we need not want to apply integration. So let's see this. RMS value is root of mean of squares. Find the RMS value of the stepped waveform. To save time, it is suggested to avoid integration. Let's see. So the very first step to find RMS value is to square the function. That is, the complete graph is squared and drawn like this. Let us see. Here from 0 to 5, value of the function is simply 4. So when you square it up, it becomes 16. 4 square 16 in between 0 to 5, isn't it? So from 0 to 5, the graph has been raised to 16. And from 5 to 9, it was 8, but when squared, it becomes 64. And from 9 to 13, it was 12, so when squared, it becomes 144. Similarly, in the other side also. And what about the negative half of the original function? Here you can see everything is having a negative value, but when it is squared, it is shifted to the positive side, isn't it? So negative 4 square means it is again 16 itself. Okay, and negative 8 means it is positive 64. So the complete negative function of the graph is now shifted to the positive side, which means the graph is rectified. Okay, so anyway, when you check for the time period, you can see that the time period is found till 22, isn't it? From 0 to 22, there is one cycle of the particular graph, and it is found to repeat continuously later. So here time period is t. Okay. Anyway, so we have squared the function, and next step is to integrate it divided by the time period, isn't it? We have squared it, and next we have to take the mean. Mean means it is integration divided by time period. So what is integration? The main or the concept of integration is to take the area under the graph. So let us take the area under this graph, isn't it? Let's take the area under this graph, and again you can see that this is actually a combination of many rectangles, isn't it? 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5 rectangles are there. Okay, so area of the rectangle is length into breadth. So 16 is the length here or the height here, and breadth is 5. So 16 into 5 plus 64 into, what is the breadth here? 9 minus 5, 4. So 64 into 4. Next, 144 into 13 minus 9. It is a gap of 4. So 144 into 4 plus again 64 into 17 minus 13 is 4. 64 into 4 plus here 5 into 60. So this is the area of one cycle. Okay, so we have done the integration. Now divide by the time period. Time period is 22. Okay, now next step is to take the square root. Take the root. Okay, so square root is written there, and solving it out you will get 7.531. It is very easy question with a simple concept that integration means taking the area under the curve. Okay, so that's it. And the last question. This is your last question. Find the average value, RMS value and form factor of the sinusoidal voltage shown in the figure. Vm is given to be 100 volt and alpha is pi by 4. Again, let's check out for the time period here. What is the time period? Time period from 0 to 2 pi. See, this is the cycle which gets repeated later on, isn't it? This function gets repeated later on. Isn't it? When I repeat the cycle, I will get the complete graph. So, t is the time period or 2 pi is the time period. So, I have to form the equation starting from 0 to 2 pi, and you can see that from 0 to alpha and pi to 2 pi you have no function. So, from 0 to alpha, which is pi by 4, and pi to 2 pi there is no function, so it is simply written as 0, and we have got the function only between pi by 4 to pi, and there you have to write the equation for a sine wave, that is Vm sine omega t. So, Vm value is 100, so 100 sine omega t, which lies between pi by 4 to pi, isn't it? Now, let's square it first, take the mean, put it under square root. So, let's square it up. So, it becomes 100 square sine square omega t, take the mean. Taking mean means integrating divided by time period. So, integration is done only between pi by 4 to pi because the other time there is no function. So, pi by 4 to pi divided by time period is 2 pi. Okay. So, again 100 square divided by 2 pi. When taken outside the square root, it becomes 100 divided by root of 2 pi, and sine square is reformed as 1 minus cos to omega t by 2. Okay. And again, you can see that when I take this 2 is a constant, right? So, when 2 is taken outside, it becomes root 2. So, root 2 into root 2 becomes simply 2 here. So, 100 by 2 it becomes 50. Divided by root pi is written the same. And square root of, and integral 1 is omega t minus integral cos is sine to omega t by 2. Taking the limits, upper limit pi minus sine 2 pi, sine any pi is 0, so it is 0 here, minus lower limit is pi by 4 minus sine 2 pi by 4. 2 pi by 4 means pi by 2 divided by 2. Again, pi minus pi by 4 is 3 pi by 4, minus of minus is plus, sine 90 is 1 divided by 2. Solving, you will get 47.67, and the average value is just taking your function in between pi by 4 to pi divided by 2 pi. Okay, average means taking integration divided by time period, isn't it? So, solving it out, you will get 27.18, and the last term, I mean in this question there is an extra question that to get the value for form factor. Form factor is also discussed in the first video which I uploaded on RMS. Form factor means it is RMS by average. Simply take the fraction of RMS and average. So, the value is 1.754. So, if you need the complete solutions or complete PDF, you can join in my Telegram channel. Hope the class is clear for you. And if you like the video, please do like, share and subscribe it. And do well in your exams. Till we meet in the next class, this is Meenu signing off. Thank you and take care.